So far, I imagine a lot of your questions will be answered as we head on into the draft. And look at that! The first man to see traded back and forth right away, especially from GameWard, is that Renekton and then the Vex, two champions that. But speaking of things that have been a priority, GameWard decided to at least lock down the Jinx for Inax, right? And I imagine it should be an exact trade considering the matches we've seen so far with Caitlyn being banned. This could easily be just FL use was an option, but I think Jhin should be the next go-to.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've seen Crownshot play. Jhin, he's also played the Ezreal if it ends up being a good pickup here, but I think they're okay. They want to grab because Thresh is really strong at the moment here, so being able to grab that, one, take it away so you don't get the Jinx Thresh combination that's very potent, and also you're able to secure yourselves as a strong jungler in the Xin Zhao. So Shio, overall, who I think has been pretty good in the early game, being aggressive, making these plays, I think this is a fine pick for him, even though yesterday he did seem to struggle on it.
He most definitely did, right? And I find just the entire team of BDSA didn't all exactly have the brightest of days.
That's fair.
Yeah, because the game was exponentially tough. So I'm willing to write that off a little bit because Karma just seemed to have a beautiful game plan going into it, and they shut down every single thing they wanted to do. So hopefully today they can bounce on back. And I know, speaking to some of the coaches on GameWard, Shio is one person they're definitely worried about going into the game because they know him to be a very mechanical and also just a big voice for the team of BDSA in terms of making plays and initiating them. And on Zen is one way to do it, but it gets traded off for the Viego and Victor this time.
Okay, so Victor's a champ we didn't see pop up yesterday at all in terms of picks. I don't even think he drew very many bans as well, but it's still something for Checolad, who's a player. Very strong point for GameWard. Really very Chad performances we like to talk about when we're prepping for these matches, because this dude, like, you go check on champs like Corki, he'll make the big plays. He'll try to make things happen here. So I think these champions that are so strong and that allow these late game carry performances is something you want him to be playing here. And now that I see this, I am thinking at the very least, looking so far, that GameWard maybe aren't going to give Melanik necessarily some kind of carry champion in the top lane, because already you want to play through mid, I think, here, and you also want to play through bot.
Yeah, most definitely, especially considering the top heavy meta we were talking about yesterday, especially on the desk, right? We were looking a lot at to see if that meta does change today. So I will hold my breath and try to understand what we do decide going into it as the next round of bans have come into it. Jace and Cinder taken away, so utility and a pretty solid matchup into the Victor. Solid denied though, and Orion is definitely an option. Ryze could be a potential, but might get blown up, unfortunately. And we know Zico to be a very DPS heavy type mid laner, but TF gets taken away as well, so that global pressure taken off. And I find TF has been one we haven't gotten to see enough, but I'm always excited when it does get picked.
Yeah, it's often very much banned away. Like, it's so strong, its ability to make those plays with the global. You usually get pushed into a lot of matchups, so they just don't want to see it. They want to make sure Checolad has the best laning phase he possibly can, especially because early on Victor does struggle a little bit when it comes to wave clear. One thing we didn't highlight too, we are going to see Crownshot running the Aphelios, so you get Thresh, Aphelios, one of the strongest bot lane combos, so you know it's going to be very lane heavy, very 2v2 powered here for these two, the bot lane of BDSA, and that's kind of how I'm expecting the early game to go, especially we see the Orianna into the Victor. Less about lane, more about team fights. You have a few ball delivery options. I think Xin Shio is going to be the best one. You can set yourself up some really good shockwaves.
And speaking of things that can make an absolute shock within team fights, the Gragas is definitely one of them. So taking the tank option to top side, like you're saying, Melanik, not necessarily looking for the overall carry option, but this as well diversifies your AP and just overall frontline damage, and has a really solid disengage too if you're able to land the barrel correctly. And like you were saying, ground shot alongside Shio too, they want to make sure they can go in all at once, and the ball delivery can definitely be denied there, sir. You don't want your package, go ahead and take it back to the bank as Lulu gets locked in as the final picks. A little bit of enchanter power.
Yeah, and I actually really like the Gragas pick. This is more what I wanted to see from Melanik, at least in this particular game, where GameWard he's a pretty decent laner, but mostly for the most part, he doesn't get too hard dominated by any particular matchup, so you could do fine in lane. Even if you fall behind a little bit, you will have a lot of value, like you said, that exploding cast, being able to split up team fights, allow your team to disengage, or being an absolutely fine way to isolate someone. We've seen the body slam flash into the cast combo.
And here we are, GameWard versus BDSA, day 4 of the LFL, starting things off calmly. which honestly I don't mind at all. Right? You want to make sure that necessarily no early mistakes are given over, especially considering the starts that both these teams had. You know, gamers were starting off pretty hot. They took advantage of the early tempo. BDSA, kind of the exact opposite experience that we've been explaining throughout this entire day. So we'll see how this early game goes. I am imagining just the 3 camp clears for both of these junglers to path down towards the bot side.
Yeah, and it's looking like not a lot of early action. Potentially an early ward coming from Inax just to make sure Shio doesn't go for the cheese gank. You clear 1 camp, get level 2, and then you just move your way to the bottom lane. Especially Chameleon's playing. Lulu would be very susceptible to this. You're gonna have to flash basically if this ends up happening. So is very cautious, like you're saying, really showing how much respect they pay towards Shio, especially on the Xin Zhao. But he's actually going to be starting on the other side of the map here, and like you were saying, probably clear most of his camps, look for 4 or 5 camp clear, and then make a play bot.
Yeah, which isn't too bad at all, right? Especially you want to make sure you're at a bit of a stronger point. Maybe even getting level 4 first too would be quite nice, and an extra point in that queue is helping to secure just more of these kills as we go down. I'll try and talk a little bit about my own specialty, the top side.
Okay.
This Gragas between the Gwen. The Gwen, of course, you know, is just very favorite in this matchup. Of course, she can potentially out-damage the Gragas, but Gragas has a lot of good disengage options. So I'm personally looking at aggressive route to become much more of a split push threat, considering the Gwen, he went for the dose for the TP, right? So I'm looking to see him a little more attack speed early on as Melodic is getting traded out. If the Ignite was there, he would have been dead, but there we go, has to use the flash just to survive. Like we said, aggressive, wants to race the past memories and make new ones.
Oh, and these new ones are looking pretty good as Melanic is having a little bit of trouble, but hold on, we gotta fight bot.
There we go, Ignite used early on between the 2 supports. Camille's likely dead, 1 more auto, there we go. Erdote picks up the first of the game. BDSA starting things off much better.
Right, and you can see it, Shio doesn't even have to actually go and show up for this play. Instead, he's gonna drop the ward, use that scrying orb, and not really actually pressure Akavane there. So he's just going to go back into the river, get this first Scuttle Crab, and continue clearing his camps on this bottom side of the map here. Still plenty for him to do, as the rest of the lanes are just farming things out. I mean, if you look in the mid lane, not a whole lot's going to happen between Victor, Orianna early. It is that classic control mage matchup early on where it's just like, you know, I'm going to farm, you're going to farm. Oh, you in my Q range, quick little...
Yeah. Just small little poke, right? It's like, remember when you could poke people on Facebook? That's what we'd be like. You that way, you just poke back and forth. As you see, the replay yet again of the bot side play, it was just a really nice hook by Erdote to take down Camilius. Managed to get the trade, but by the end of it, it's just support on support action.
Right, supportal combat, as some people say. It's not ideal to get that first kill over to the support, but forcing them out of lane, making them lose early XP, I think is still a fine thing here. And I mean, early on, I think a lot of the agency in this early game is probably going to be on BDSA, just because Shio is the one playing this Xin Zhao. Yep. You have Erdote who's running the Thresh. Oh my gosh, and he gets the play.
1 more hook again, though, but they slow down Crunch. I think he takes a lot of damage to the face, has to flash out very, very quickly. 2 heals also used before as well, but with the blue gun, should be able to clear out the wave and probably look for a much earlier back. But considering they know that Shio is bot side, I imagine aggressive feeling a lot safer just leaving that wave to crash under the tower and probably deny Melalek's back if he wants to just, you know, get in the waves a little bit. Before now, he's absolutely chilling top side. Oh, surprisingly down in farm though. But I imagine it's just small trades going back and forth and wanted to slow push the wave. But right now, Orianna gets caught out right by the Raptors. They're just trading a little bit of damage, but chuck down Nakabane to around half. He's still chasing this, wants to try to go for the kill, but no ignite on him. Thought might have could have come into the flash, but Shio feeling a little bit just a little bit confident.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be. In the end, it's gonna end up being the Raptors trade, especially because Akavane can't go to his Raptors. He ended up getting walked down, taking a lot of damage here from this Orianna, and we're gonna see now after this if he wants to make the play for the Dragon. I mean, with the thing with the Jinx Lulu bot lane is, like, early on, you have very little control in the lane phase, which does mean that BDSA, especially with this strong early jungle matchup, they can just continue pressuring this bottom side of the map, pretty much easily go for these Dragons uncontested for the first little while.
Exactly, and I find Dragon parity has been one thing that we witnessed a lot within the first week, right? But there was one specific trend that was the most common between many different teams. it was depending on how you wanted to play out just that mid game. So more often than not, you would see teams give it the first 2 dragons, and then you would try to funnel them into trying to just deny solo points. So I'm looking a lot at around the 8-minute mark, which is where we should see a potential 5v5 breakout. And speaking to some of the GameWard coaches, right, they know that the early game is absolutely fantastic. They're very, very confident. But between that 8 to about 15-minute mark is where they've said they've definitely struggled a lot more, and where they give up a lot of tempo. So they know they either take it a late game and they smash, or they get smashed. So we'll see it right now because they're looking to smash Crown Shot, but Saudis can't get in range. A good little route by him, a beautiful use of the Felio's guns as he just managed to walk away. Easy peasy.
Yeah, and it did help. There was a pink ward in the brush too, so even in the harrowed path, Aquavade was revealed to him. So now, not a whole lot is really going to come of that one. Crown Shot's still going to have this pressure, allow himself to continue pushing in this wave. And look what it's gotten him. A very, very hefty CS lead in these early minutes of the game. And we talked about where GameWard, if you're going to put Inax on the picks like this, the Jinx where you need him to carry, he needs some help.
I mean, speaking right now, I believe he needs a bit more than help, my friend. Oh, he probably needs a GS. That was another beautiful dive set up from some amazing hooks by Ardote, who's landed those all day long. Melonic now as well has to use the explosive cast to try to disengage it again. He's been bullied in this lane for far too long, and Akabane might come and help him.
Yeah, I mean, no needlework available here, and now Melonic can just help set this up.
He has flash as well if he wanted to try to take him down. A little bit of flash body slam, but yet again, sadly not in range. I believe aggressive sniffs his one out and pops the ghost as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty big. He just uses the ghost to keep himself safe. It's not a big deal at the moment here, and he's able to TP back if he really needs to, and there it is. He's going to come back to lane, get a little more AP, continue on the strength he's got so far. And GameWard, in these early minutes, again, it's not much that they can really do. It feels like their only real playmaking in this at the moment is from Akavane or maybe Melonic. And because they do like to play for these early Rift Heralds, maybe now this is the opportunity where they can try and find something, especially when you consider the moment Inax and Crown Shot both are coming back with that Noon Quiver, so they are actually even in strength for now.
Yep.
If they have the straight up 5v5, maybe if Melonic gets a big cask when the Herald's up, it could be a play to be made, but Shio's already on it.
Yeah, Rift Herald was a big priority for GameWard coming into this week, but considering they're already TPing down, like you said, they don't want to necessarily give this up. Kabane is here. We haven't seen Melonic roam down as of yet, so they're fighting a potential 3v4.
Oh, nice damage.
The next coming up.
Oh, they got him.
Already in. No, the Lancer away. They can't chase him down. The Lion Storm not going to hit as aggressive. Ooh, it's holding off Melonic. They can't get a range. They do manage to get BDS away, but they go and Shiglu takes a lot of damage right to the face. Try to go in onto more, but both the sides are walking away. No one fully committing on another. The Rocket just does some chip damage, but everybody's staying alive, surprisingly. Okay.
And that is impressive. BDSA do manage to walk away from this one, and they actually walk away with the Rift Herald, I think, which is the craziest part here. So GameWard not able to make good on that hope there, at least here today. But still, there is a second Rift Herald to play for. There's still a lot more that they could potentially do as time goes on. But I mean, we're just seeing the early game strength here of BDSA. GameWard, early on, usually seem to be their strengths, but even that is something they're struggling with at the moment.
Yeah, I find right now there was a couple of split calls going on between all the members of GameWard, right? You see that they want to commit, they're trying to chase them down, but a potential issue, which we already see, that could potentially bleed over into the entire game, is just the lack of hard committal that we see from this entire team, right? They know that they could potentially try to go in if Vigo tries to let a stun, or maybe Melonic finds a flash body slam, but besides all that, it's a much more of a peel back type composition where you're waiting to be aggressive to pop out BDSA, which GameWard is very comfortable with. They've even mentioned it too, how peel back has been the way that they've gone so far, but they wanted to look to be more reactionary, which is why the Rift Herald priority did come to fruition for one of the goals for the week. And I mean, that's pretty proactive, I gotta say, making sure you can take your own red buff as least, because Erdote and Shio keep linking up in the jungle.
And that's what we want to see. Jungle support, linking up, making moves, holding hands, and moving across the rift. BDSA, they've been just doing this the whole time. Feels like a much different look compared to yesterday. And I mean, to be fair, Aggressivu has more than 20 farm at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's already way better than yesterday ended up looking. And now all Akabane can really do after having to smite his red is hang around bot, see if a dive play is being made. But ultimately, it feels like in this early game, he hasn't been able to do much but power farm. Luckily, he is Viego, which means he will have value later on because of the farming he's doing. But the problem you talk about is still there, Robbie. The fact that GameWard, a lot of non-committal unless Melanik has to make a big flash play. And I think at the moment, if BDSA are in so much control, they're going to get to these objectives first. They're going to get to all the important parts of the map before GameWard do. And in that case, GameWard are the ones who are going to have to make the move, but they can't.
Exactly, yeah, because you're looking at them, you're thinking, okay, you could potentially try to kite back with it, but there's not a ton of DPS on them, and if they do try to engage and they potentially miss the engage too, not all of the team can follow up. And like I was saying before, that reactionary play style might unfortunately come back in the back to potentially bite them, because right now, like you mentioned, if BDSA managed to get first move and they're just not there, they're looking to react against what they do, and they will be shut down consistently and just start bleeding resources across the entire map. Especially once this Gwen gets rolling, you will have to send somebody to potentially answer her if this is how BDSA want to try to play out the game, which I imagine they will, considering already how lane dominant aggressive who has been.
Right, and I mean, maybe Checolad in the side lane could be able to do something about it later. It's going to be hard to say. He'd have to really play it well, I think, to avoid getting run down. That's part of why you see aggressive Hoop taking the Ghost this time instead of the Ignite. Just that ability to close the gap on people who would massively outrange her. And if that's available, even Checolad, I think, will have a bit of trouble. Speaking of trouble, Chio constantly just going for these invades, trying to snag camps away from Akavane, and now with the last two turret plates being there, Heralds being dropped, you got all this extra gold coming into Crown Shot's pocket. No one better on the side of BDSA, and on a carry pick like the Aphelios, this dude is online.
And we've seen what the Aphelios can do when left on an island when allowed to farm. I believe in the Solary game that we saw previously, right? The Aphelios absolutely popped off and should be able to get the second charge here as well. There we go. Inax Chameleons can do nothing at all.
They get the turret.
Yeah, wait, actually, yeah, you're saying your Dote is roaming around the other side to try to potentially deny it, and Akabane decides to make a play topside, but leave Ghost yet again popped by aggressive and bot side is not completely opened up. Crown Shot is not free to roam, so I imagine we'll see a potential roam top side as well. As you see Gwen already possibly roaming down to the bot and then give Crown Shot top priority and force them out of there as well. So this is a beautiful rotation for BDSA.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll have time to go for more plates there, but they can still have him move to the top side and start taking down more turrets, still get that extra gold. And you can see it on this gold graph on the left side. He has the most gold in the game by a country mile. Almost 2,000 ahead of Checolad, the richest person on GameWard's side. It is so tough, especially when you have the Shockwave, when you have Chio's entire kit to be able to start off these fights and help Crown Shot, not to mention the Thresh going there with the Dark Passage and all the feel he offers. This is a really... BDSA already have all the tools they need to succeed in this game, just with how good this early game's gone.
Speaking right now, they might be able to turn that around. Melodic doing some alcove gaming as he's wait for Crown Shots to push up. You do see that
so
both Chio and Erdote are roaming nearby, but they could collapse against him. There we go. He catches him with the backside. Rocket is going to mix, but he gets stunned up, has to heal right away. The flash already burned. There's Chio to save him and bail him out along with Erdote.
Oh, the hook!
Bailing everybody a big hook, and they get the support. This looks like such a beautiful play, but they were not tracking where BDSA was. Akabane not going in, but not going to be stunned either. Chio looking for another win to become lightning, but BDSA gets the turn and they get a pick.
Man, that's really bad. You end up getting Crown Shot. I think the play is just mistimed. If you actually manage to take him down, had a shutdown on him, that's extra gold in your pocket, and this is a different situation. You get that Rift Herald, you get that Rift Scuttle, and maybe you can start taking turrets of your own. But so far, GameWard really struggling in this game, not able to just do anything about what BDSA has been doing. Their real only hope is that Checolad has been doing okay when it comes to farming. But Inax, on the other hand, he's fallen so far behind. Maybe when he gets the 2 items, if we actually get that far, that he'd be able to do something in a decent fight.
Can I just say that speaking with all these fights, Erdote we've seen has landed these insane hooks, and even now when he's been beside Chio, he's always the lantern out to bail them out of any potential situation. Like, I don't think I've seen him miss a hook this game so far. As we'll see, what was, I find, a solid idea if they just knew where all of BDSA were.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that I think Melanik should have just came out of the bush and gone for the body slam anyway, because Crown Shot being able to flash, Gale Force, at that point the burst damage wasn't there, Melanik wasn't going to kill him, and they kept chasing, which was even more rough on the side of GameWard. They weren't able to secure any of the kills as a result, and now because of the Rift Herald, they lost. They're going to lose this mid-tier 1 turret, and there isn't anything they can actually do about it. We're at 15 minutes and the gold lead is 6,000 in favor of BDSA. They're about to be at sole point because I can't imagine GameWard are going to be able to do anything to stop this next dragon from going down.
Not at all. This is the BDSA that we know and appreciate. There's one that he finally missed it. So he is human. Good to know that. But yeah, BDSA, this is what they love to do. Just play small, aggressive objectives. As you see Shio being chased down, a good cast back into the team. He should definitely be dead, but no land
Wow.
to save him. They turned it around. Crown shot with the insane amount of damage. Takes out the other jungler, and now that's me the second as well. Melonic was a bit too deep. Camillus has to use the wild growth on himself. One more on him, he should be dead. Aggressive, ooh, might look to turn him back, but they cannot land the hook and nor the execute. Will come in, the boat stay alive, but they lose a lot of summoners, but GameWard lose a lot of people.
They're losing almost everything, Ravi. That's another turret that's going to go down. There's the soul point, like I was talking about. BDSA now, one dragon away from that soul, and one dragon away, maybe, from just potentially closing this one out here. Like, look at how strong everyone is on the side of BDSA. You look across the board, only one behind in CS is Shio, and I think Crown Shot, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, he's a...
Yeah.
He gets literally run down, sadly. And it wasn't even like it was a run. It was just a slow walk to death.
Yeah, you know, Victor's got the cane. He's got to take his time.
But remember, man, Victor finally caught up to the boat, bro, so we should see him running at this point in time. So.
I don't know, man. I'm not seeing it so far. Maybe you should take Ghost.
Can you? I can't imagine.
Have you never taken Victor on Ghost or Ghost on Victor?
No, I think I've taken it once, dude.
It's so funny.
But like you said, phase rush Ghost along with a key rock. You're literally a speed demon, man. That's absolutely insane. You're probably faster than Lily.
Usain Bolt.
With a cane?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the doing track and field?
I actually think when he goes fast enough, the animation, he's no longer like using the cane. I think he's just running.
He just has a third like at a certain point.
No, I think like he's not. Okay, actually, hold on. There's a fight. We should talk about it.
Oh, wait, actually, like you're saying here, notice it is a Gauntlet. Was a nice pick set up by GameWard too. Now Shio as well looks to be run down yet again, or slowly walked, as you like to say.
Yeah.
They have to try to disengage. So, they knew they wanted to take a Rift Herald.
Really
They'll be able to get it, but at least it's a nice pick too.
Oh,
Bring it back in the game a little bit. Shio is most definitely dead. Chocolate with a nice little trade-off in tower aggro, but what can they get off this besides top tower?
Well, you got to think about what they can also lose because of that play. You see, Aggressive Ooze got a wave, a good amount of gold that they're losing out on the side of GameWard. It's nice, though, because you do pick up a couple of shutdowns after the play coming through. Yeah. It is much-needed gold, although it's still a drop in the bucket compared to what GameWard are down by at the moment. It's still about 6K. And they need to continue making these kinds of plays, but it's hard because you see how hard they have to commit to engage to some of these fights.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always pan out for them, and even if it does, Aggressive Blue will just be on the other side of the map splitting.
Exactly, and this is what we were talking about before as well, considering how much of lane dominant series he's had throughout this entire day in the past 18 minutes. We know him, and we said that this was going to be a big focal point for BDS's overall macro style, and exactly that. He's already building the attack speed to make sure he can tunnel down on the towers much faster. And on the back end of it too, we were looking at it, right, even though GameWard got those 2 picks, they got nothing out of it. They weren't able to rush down any towers, right? Because you saw how Shio was able to respond from that. And as you move on forward, they're now just looking at, okay, that was nice, but they want to try to recreate it again. But this time, around objective, they want to commit onto. Speaking of Shio, probably committing a little bit too deep. The team's not there yet. Crown shot not nearly in range, but Akabane gets chunked down to about half health, and they all have to reset once again.
And it's tough. You can see what's happening to BDSA taking control over this topside jungle. Look at the vision. Pink wards, stealth wards, all over the place. And there's Erdote playing the defender of vision here, making sure that Chameleus, if you're clearing wards, you better have a homie because I'm about to hook you. And they look, and the rest of the team here, the squad is rolling up, making it so that you can't actually do anything about this. All your waves are pushed in, and turrets are under threat. You can see it because of this control. BDSA, they've moved to this top side of the map. Erdote, of course, hanging out of sight, just so he can get one of those stealthy hooks.
One thing we should also look out for too is you see Aggressive, who has spotted Melonic trying to go in, so they're fighting a battle topside, but Checolot has some wild growth as well. He gets taken down.
He's
the
gone.
Moonlight Vigil absolutely pops, and sayonara, Victor, no more running for you, my friend. As there we go, as the team sadly is now just down one more person. That'll be a free Baron for BDSA at 20 minutes.
Right. spin up for 45 seconds, and they're already taking down this big purple worm that's going to increase the gold lead that much further and actually put them in a scenario to just close things out.
And speaking of closing things,
wow.
Here's the jungler gone too. Crown Shanks just does so much damage, dude.
Yeah.
Now it's blue and purple, you know. That's going to be a nurple. I don't really have a rhyme for that, but either way, you know it's going to hurt by the end of it because the FLEO says is very much online. That's a Baron. They can continue to extend this lead even more so, too. And split resources from GameWard. They're thinking they just cannot do anything up against them as they continue to extend their vision line more into the base of GameWard.
Yeah, we're going to see a replay of how this one went down. I think it was the Infernum. Moonlight Vigil coming from Crown Shot after a really nice shockwave there from Chico, just making it so that Checolad, you're not here anymore, and that's the big amount of burst damage. The only player on the team who's actually in a spot where he could actually potentially do damage in some of these fights. So getting rid of him just makes that Baron take so easy. And now 10k up, Melanik, he's done.
Yep, just one more auto, and Chico will pick that up one for himself as Chocolat has to try to dodge and weave between everything that is coming right at his face. There we go, Wind becomes lightning onto one. There's a knock-up. Chocolat has a flash away. Aggressive Wuna looking for a way in. No snip and no snip either, but on the other end, the tower goes crack as they look to break GW's back.
Yeah, I think the thing that they're doing too is they're making it so that no one, they're boxing them in basically. Chocolad, he's done. Shio isn't actually in a bit of trouble. They can turn on him.
Yeah, they could. As you see, Shio's actually a little bit too deep. Should be taken down, but instead they get there in time.
Resetting.
Trying to save him. There's a reset at the back. Trying to run away. One more auto. Won't even need the purple gun, as just the green will do. And with the Baron up midi as well, because they still have Baron at this point for another minute and a half. They're 4 people strong up against the 2 of Gamers, or they can just end the game here.
I think they're going to do it, and it'll be the fastest game we have so far here. Look how fast the turret is going down. Wow, I think they're just going to go and end it. It's done.
Yeah, this is it. 22 minutes. BDS, what was the thrashing they received previously? They will give the thrashing over on the GameWard. Now the coach did say, you know, mid-game can be a little bit difficult for themselves. Say either